Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast, a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today.
Welcome to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Hello, I am your host, Alyssa Jo. How's it going today? I hope you had a wonderful long weekend with your family, or happy Easter if you listen to this on Easter. I hope you tried to enjoy just some relaxation and some food and hopefully some chocolate. Because that's, what it's all about, the chocolate and the relaxation. But really, I hope you connected with family and friends, even if it was over video or FaceTime or just a phone call, whatever it was. Hopefully this weekend gave you a little positivity and pep in your step, for the week forward. Because it's scary and it's unknown, but that's okay. If we stay positive and kind to each other, good things are always going to keep happening. And I'm here to share some good things that are happening all over the world, despite all the craziness. So I thought I would start today's episode with a story about Lady Gaga and what she has kind of said about this whole coronavirus and everything going on. And I just think it's a very good foundation for everything and every story I'm going to share today. So she says, not everyone can financially support the fight against the coronavirus pandemic, but one thing that everyone can contribute that is free and essential right now is kindness. Exactly. She says kindness currency is absolutely free and anyone can give it. She says if we start to channel that as an artistic community while partnering with CEOs and tech companies, we can make this into a much bigger coalition that is about being kind. I love it. So this is part of the reason that she is actually doing One World Together at Home. This is a benefit concert on April 18th, and it's going to be running on all the networks across the U.S. and on YouTube as well. So it's just to celebrate and raise money for the healthcare workers who are on the front line of the pandemic. So this kind of idea happened after she was speaking to 68 corporate leaders to talk about the spirit of kindness, and they decided as a result that they are fundraising in an international effort to help medical workers and the patients. The funds will all go towards scientific research to get all of this done and out of the way as fast as possible. She says, I know distinctly that the position that I'm in my home environment is very different from somebody's that's living in an unsanitary environment where it's very dense, where they can't get clean food, where they don't have a job or they're losing their job. She says they can't feed their children, they can't feed themselves. Maybe they're in a situation where there's domestic abuse in their household. So she wanted to do this concert. It's a 2-hour cultural moment. She's calling it that highlights the global community and harnesses kindness. She says, I feel that we are actually witnessing an absolute triumph of bravery and courage that is underappreciated during a global pandemic, and that the medical community should be celebrated. So there you go. She noted that the concert isn't a fundraiser as the money, $35 million, has already actually been raised beforehand. So she says, just sit back and enjoy the show because I also do believe that entertainers and artists have the unique ability to make people smile. I would like to give them permission to smile during this time and to laugh when they can. No matter how hard it gets, I want to remind them that there are artists that really love them. So there you go, the words from Lady Gaga to hopefully brighten your spirits a little bit and just bring all that kindness, but as much kindness as possible. All right, let's move on to the next story. I have a very cute story about a 5-year-old girl named Nova Knight. She's pretty serious about keeping everyone safe. And there was a video that was put up on the internet and it went viral. First of all, she's adorable, but she is very, determined to keep everybody safe. So there was a video. It's been viewed so many times. And it actually drawn the praise of the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. She says in the video, "I'm sorry if you can't go to your play dates. Don't go anywhere and wash your hands. I'm serious." Of course, she's 5 years old. She lives with her parents, and her 2-year-old brother, Colton. And she has some more advice about washing the hands. There's a 40-second clip. She talks to you about washing your hands. She's encouraging repeated viewings of the video as a reminder of what to do to stay safe from the virus. She says, "I'm really, really serious, so you should do this video every single day." She's absolutely adorable in it, which is probably most of the reason it went viral, but she has a very good point and she's very serious about it. So her aunt actually sent her a video of Justin Trudeau thanking children in Canada for not going on their play dates and for doing their part in stopping the spread of the virus. So she says that Nova, the little 5-year-old, intended to watch that video every single day, so she knew what to do. And then she says, "And then she actually asked me, 'Will you put me on Facebook Live? I have something I want to say.'" So her parents decided not to go on Facebook Live, but decided to tape a video of her saying all this stuff. And she did the first take, I guess, and she wasn't satisfied with it. So she says, "Could we do one more? I just don't think they know how serious I am." She is adorable. You need to go check out this video. I'll try to post a link over on one of our social media pages on Twitter or Facebook, because she's pretty adorable and she's pretty serious, and I think she could scare a lot of people into making sure they're washing their hands. I love seeing little kids get serious about this stuff, and viral videos everywhere. Now, my next story is about a couple who decided to have their wedding still, despite everything that's going on, and of course all their guests couldn't come. So they decided to hold a wedding with cardboard cutouts for guests. Crazy, right? So they're Amy Simpson and Dan Stujic. They're from Michigan, and they decided to go through with their ceremony, but completely different, obviously, group of guests. They had literally cardboard guests. I saw a picture of it. It's pretty hilarious. The couple originally planned for 150 of their family and friends to attend their wedding on April 4th. But, of course, the safety regulations, they had to cut the list down to 12 people. It's a big cut, 150 to 12, and she says, "If my uncle that I haven't seen in 6 years isn't there, that's fine, but my grandma isn't coming, and part of my bridesmaids. My best friends won't even be there." That's what she said in an interview. So her fiance, or I guess husband now, he saw, just how upset she was, and he was trying to find ways that he could, make her happier, cheer her up with all the whole thing, and just try to find, a happy positive throughout it all. So he said, "I was seeing creative ways to fill churches." He was trying to find, different ways that he could fill a church. He said, "I just didn't want her to walk down the aisle with nobody, there, with like an empty church." So he had the unique idea that he would pack the entire church using cardboard cutouts. And he did it. He actually visited the packaging corporation to ask about purchasing any spare cardboard that they had on hand. So then he explained why, and their response was pretty hilarious. They said they got a little emotional about what we were doing. They immediately got excited about going above and beyond what we expected. So using all their machinery, the company was able to cut out 100 pieces of cardboard in the shape of all kinds of different people, including children, adults. Like, it literally looks like a church full of their guests, but they're all cardboard cutouts. He says, it's been a long time since I got married, but cutting corrugated cardboard the weekend before my wedding wasn't high on my list. But they did it. So the company actually just donated the cutouts to the couple free of charge. And he says it's funny to think about a factory producing our wedding guests. This is such a kind thing for them to do. So there you have it. They did the wedding, only with 12 people in the room, safely distanced, and 100 cupboard cutouts for the rest of their guests. I love it. Just to go through. They wanted to be married, and they did it. All right, it's time for a little bit of a break, but don't go anywhere. I have a really cool story about a quarantine angler who lands a fish from a balcony 50 feet up. It's a pretty interesting story. Catching a fish from 50 feet up on his balcony in quarantine. You can do anything in isolation, apparently. Stay tuned.
So as part of this break, I want to tell you that I've recently learned about Birch Gold Group. They are one of the top dealers of physical precious metals in the United States. They provide something called gold IRAs, which I am now learning about. That is you can convert a portion of your IRA or 401k into an IRA backed by physical precious metals. That is a gold IRA. Now, I know that my listeners are all very intelligent, and so you've probably been thinking about what your plan might be in terms of your savings, in terms of your investments. The question is, can you afford another hit to your retirement like the last downturn when the S&P dropped 50%? Not many of us probably can. You might want to know that gold is a safe haven against uncertainty, that it can be a good way to diversify your plan, your savings plan. And Birch Gold Group is a trusted place to make precious metal purchases. Right now, thanks to the little-known IRS tax law, you can even move your IRA or eligible 401k into an IRA backed by physical gold and silver. It's perfect for those who want to protect their hard-earned retirement savings from any future geopolitical uncertainty. So contact Birch Gold Group to request a free info kit on physical precious metals to see if diversifying into gold and silver makes sense for you. The comprehensive 20-page kit reveals how gold and silver can protect your savings and how you can legally move your IRA or 401k out of risky stocks and bonds and into a precious metals IRA. To get your no-cost, no-obligation kit, go to birchgold.com/America. That's BIRCH gold.com/America.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. Hello, we're back. So I mentioned a story about a quarantine angler who landed a fish from his balcony 50 feet up. Pretty cool. So he was on quarantine lockdown. This is in Dubai. And he landed a fish from his apartment balcony. 50 feet above ground. That is far. So his name is Philip. And he said that he was just going stir crazy, just not being able to fish and all of these things. So he decided that it came to a point, after a little while in quarantine, that he was just gonna give it a shot from his apartment, because his apartment overlooks a brackish canal. And so I guess it just kind of showed more promise with each passing day, and he decided to just give it a shot. So he put a shrimp on his hook and he casted it out. It was really late at night, so he was concerned that he might have kind of disturbed his neighbors. That he said they won't be impressed in the morning with the dried fish slime across their living room window. Gross. So just after his second cast, he was able to catch a fish. And he just did it. He knew that if he tried to drop the fish back down 40 to 50 feet, it wouldn't make the fall. So they actually decided to give it to the security guards to eat. So there you go. Fishing from your balcony. Pretty crazy. You can do so many different things while in quarantine. My next story is about some leftover food that took a flight amid New York, big lockdown and everything. There was a man, his name is Neftali, and he usually picks up food for DoorDash, Postmates, Uber, from this restaurant, this Dig Inn location. It's a fast casual restaurant. It's in Manhattan's financial district. So he usually picks up food. He'll deliver it for DoorDash, Postmates, Uber. But he doesn't just work for those three services. Takeout food is huge right now. So those three services, I'm sure, are pretty busy right now. But he was actually taking this leftover food to a charity called North Brooklyn Angels in Williamsburg. And then he was going to be distributing meals from a food truck. He is an independent contractor who works for Transformation, which is a platform that in usual, non-global pandemic times, I guess, they distribute leftover prepared food from restaurants and companies, and they give it to places like homeless shelters, food pantries, all of that kind of stuff. But now the coronavirus pandemic and all the citywide lockdown has sent, a really high on-demand food rescue service into just overdrive. People need food. A lot of people are out of their jobs, right? So this is what he does. He was helping transfer this food to places that needed it. So this actually all kind of came from CEO Hannah Durandewalda. I am not pronouncing that right. But she actually piloted the Uber for excess food back in 2015. And she actually launched an app in 2016. She says, although a lot of my clients' offices are on hiatus, she was able to identify some programs just across the city that need food delivery. So it's keeping her fleet of cargo bikers employed by distributing meals that partners like the Dig Inn restaurant are making for agencies. So they actually plan to feed roughly about 500 people weekly at 3 different senior centers, and then there's more to come that they're planning. She says there's so much going on that there's almost no time to feel overwhelmed. She says a typical day now has her on more than 30 different phone calls by the afternoon. She says, I'm just trying to take everything as it comes and make sure that we're doing 3 things. That includes finding programs that need support, leveraging her rider base to keep them employed, and ensuring that food from organizations or corporations is reaching the places it needs to go. So in typical times, non-global pandemic times, clients schedule pickups on the app for about 2,000 pounds of mostly untouched leftovers. Pretty cool. So the charity Transformation initially offered the service for free, but companies now must pay a delivery fee. There's $400 monthly for unlimited, $35 for pickup, and varying options depending on what you want and what you're doing. And then they can actually write it off on their taxes. So Transformation is currently a nonprofit, but it's planning to switch to a B corporation for a profit company dedicated to social food. So on average, usually clients write off at least $10,000 from their taxes each year. Pretty interesting. And this is all Transformation just distributes leftover food. She says it's distributed more than 1.8 million meals and diverted 2 million pounds of food from landfills. The platform also partners with DoorDash. They boast corporations like NBC, Blackstone, American Express, and there's about 76 other clients that have a small presence in New Jersey, and they plan to reach Philadelphia and Boston as well this year. So they are expanding. It's cool to see these kind of companies and charities still working at this time because so many businesses are closed down, but they're just kind of redirecting their energy and transferring it to other places that might need the food. Now, my next story is about Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry, I'm sure you know that name. It is not uncommon for this actor to make headlines for doing good deeds. But this past week, he did something pretty incredible. He picked up the tab for all groceries purchased during senior shopping hour at 73 different supermarkets. 73! That is a lot of supermarkets. Originally, he was anonymous, but one of the workers, one of the owners of the supermarkets did give away that it was Tyler Perry. So there was, all elderly citizens browsed aisles and stuff over supermarkets. It was in New Orleans and Atlanta, Georgia, during their senior shopping hour. And they got their groceries paid for by what they're calling the Atlanta Angel. So it was an unidentified do-gooder at first, but like I said, they were able to, they did find out it was Tyler Perry. But he actually spent time at 73 different supermarkets paying for all of these groceries. He says senior and higher risk Kroger shoppers in Metro Atlanta did receive a nice surprise at the register this morning when they learned Tyler Perry had paid their grocery tab in full. Says, we would like to join our customers in thanking Mr. Perry for his kindness and generosity during this unprecedented pandemic. It was truly a pleasure to see our customers fill with joy and gratitude as the news spread throughout 44 stores across Metro Atlanta, and then there was more above, there's 73 in total. That is a lot of grocery stores. Now, my next story is actually about the Twitter founder, and he has pledged money to COVID-19, 28% of his net worth. So that's $1 billion of Jack Dorsey's net worth. Of his net worth. So that is $1 billion that Jack Dorsey donated to COVID-19 relief. So that comes up to about 28% of his net worth. It's a lot of money. $1 billion he donated just to response and relief efforts of all COVID-19. So he wrote on a Twitter post that he now plans on selling his Square equity because he currently owns shares in Square. He owns more shares in Square than Twitter. So he is the Twitter founder and Square as well. But he hopes to reduce the impact of the donation by selling them over an extended period of time. He says as the funds are distributed to just various different relief efforts through the Start Small Foundation. And then he's planning to offer full transparency of his donations by tracking them through a public Google document. He says, I'm moving $1 billion of my Square equity, 20% of my wealth, to Start Small LLC to fund global COVID-19 relief. After we disarm this pandemic, the focus will shift to girls' health and education and UBI. He says, why pull just Square and not Twitter? He says, simply, I own a lot more Square and I'll need to pace the sales over some time. The impact this money will have should benefit both companies over the long term, but it's helping the people we want to serve. So people are, why now? Why is this all of a sudden happening? And he says, I just want to see the impact in my lifetime. I hope this inspires others to do something similar. Life is too short, so let's do everything we can today to help people now. As well, in this addition, the addition to his donation, it's pretty impressive contributions to the coronavirus. It's also might be the largest private donation to a global cause since the CNN founder Ted Turner committed $1 billion towards the creation of the United Nations Foundation back in 1997. So there you go, Twitter and Square founder Jack Dorsey, $1 billion to COVID-19 relief. All right, it's time for another break, but don't go anywhere. When we get back, I have more great stories to share with you.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Hello, hello. We're back. Let's jump right back in to some stories. Now, this next story might be my favorite one of this entire episode. I thought it was pretty cool. So, after 13 years of social distancing, some giant pandas finally mate during their peaceful COVID-19 zoo closure. So conservationists are just ecstatic over a newly reported, kind of just this silver lining, they're calling it, of COVID-19 shutdowns. So after 13 years of playing hard to get, as they say, these two giant pandas have finally made it. So Lily and Ying Ying, have been roommates at the Ocean Park Zoo in Hong Kong since 2007. And two pandas, I guess, have never felt compelled to answer the call of the wild, even though, you know, their resulting in reproduction would help to preserve their vulnerable species. They've been, in the same enclosure since 2007. So finally, with the silence, they finally made it. And the zookeepers were just absolutely thrilled. It says, since Ying Ying and Lily's arrival in Hong Kong in 2007 and attempts at natural mating since 2010, they unfortunately have yet to succeed until this year upon years of trial and learning. The successful natural mating process today is extremely exciting for all of us, as the chance of pregnancy via natural mating is higher than by artificial insemination. So in addition to female giant pandas having a mating season of just 24 to 72 hours of fertility per year, the bears reportedly have notoriously non-existent libido. So considering how Ocean Park has been closed to the public since January 26th, just as a mean of curbing the spread of coronavirus, Lily and Ying Ying have just, they just needed some privacy, I guess, from their usual visitors staring at them all day long in the zoo. So it doesn't matter how it happened or why it happened, but it did. The zookeepers are closely monitoring Ying Ying over the course of the next year just to see if she was successfully impregnated with a cub. But there you have it. At least some people are finding at least some mammals are finding some love during these COVID-19 shutdowns and quarantines. I thought that was pretty cute. Now, my next story is nothing to do with the pandemic. There's actually new solar pavement driveways, and they're made of plastic bottles, which is pretty interesting. They can power the average household. A solar panel pavement driveway. So this could be huge to help with clean electricity for so many different households. This is thanks to a Budapest-based startup, Platio Solar. So for the past 5 years, they've been developing new ways of implementing solar technology into urban spaces. So one of their latest developments is a residential solar panel driveway, and it's made out of recycled plastic bottles. So there was a video that was published by the company just this past week, and the solar system is first to generate power from the pavement of a residential household. So each Pladio solar paver, is what they're calling it, is made from 400 polyethyl PET bottles. One of the most common forms of consumer plastic. They're compressed into pavers. The material becomes more durable than concrete, while still being non-slip and sustainable. So this system can either be used to generate electricity for your household, or you can power an electric car. That's pretty cool. And so also, according to their website, there's a 20 square meter Pladio driveway system that has the capacity to cover the yearly energy consumption of an average household. So they are now offering resale opportunities and installation quotes for their driveway systems, available in brown, blue, red, and green different designs. That is a unique way. When I saw the picture and the video of this, it's pretty cool. I suggest go checking it out. New solar pavement driveways can clean electricity for your whole household. All right, my next story is about a photographer. I lied. Maybe this could be my favorite story of today's episode. It's this one or the Panda one, but there is a photographer that is offering free family portraits. Do you get it? Portraits? It's called the Porchtrait Project. So she's keeping her social distancing, but she didn't want to keep her social distancing from her passion of photography. So she found a new way to join local families in celebrating quarantine and life, and just trying to bring out different things, bring the family together. So this photographer is from Minneapolis, Minnesota, been taking just free family portraits that just kind of document joyful parts of different community members. It's really, all the pictures that I've seen are really, really cool. So over the past 2 weeks, she's gone to, almost 1,500 miles to 146 different homes in order just to take photos of families on their porches for just the heartwarming portrait project. Each family portrait is captioned with a heartwarming or cute little quote that they put on Instagram. They capture a sneak peek into just the lives of the families that are kind of, waiting out the COVID-19 outbreaks. So it says, I want to give somebody something that they can hang on the wall, and in a few years look back on it and in such a frantic and scary time, see that there was some silver lining to it. It's therapeutic for me, and it's been that way for so many people. So began kind of publishing this on social media, and then just got flooded with messages and interest to be a part of this project, the Portraits Project. So there was a GoFundMe page that was created just for, just any expenses. Just launching the campaign just this past week, received more than $900 in donations really, really quickly. Says the reality is this effort has an expiration date, and with your help, I can continue to photograph families for free and serve this incredible community in this unique way during these uncertain times. This has been the highlight of my professional career, and with your help, we can keep it going. Pretty cool. The Portrait Project. I just love that idea. Now, my next story is about a student, 17 years old. His name is Trip Wright, and he actually created a website for grocery delivery during the pandemic. He was just looking for a way to get involved, and he became inspired by an article about a college student in New York who created a grocery and prescription delivery service in his area called Invisible Hands Deliver. So, within 6 hours, Tripp decided to bring that idea to Cincinnati, and he brought it with the website zoomfooddeliver.com. So this site's only been up for about a couple weeks now. In that time, he's recruited 70 volunteers, fulfilled 30 orders between he does do Zoom online classes, because he's in high school. He's only 17 years old. So he's doing his online classes, but he checks his emails and tries to respond to people, and in between classes and everything, he just gets back to everybody, and he's been really helping out and making a difference. He said, I had my doubts being a 17-year-old starting something that could potentially grow to a pretty large size, but I said, if I don't do it, I'm going to regret not being able to make a difference to help those in need. So the whole purpose of their organization is just to provide safe and free grocery deliveries to elderly, anyone who can't make it to the stores on their own, and those most susceptible to contracting the virus. So the radius of the neighborhood coverage kind of stretches along most of the Interstate 275. So Tripp says that as long as volunteers want to help, the radius will just kind of keep expanding. But 70 volunteers, that's quite a lot. There's no delivery fee, included grocery drop-offs as well. Customers can choose to have their groceries chosen by Kroger's ClickList employees, or they can request the volunteers to do the shopping for them. The volunteers are then just reimbursed for the groceries by Cash App, Venmo, or a check. Tripp actually raised $1,000 in donations so far, which he's used, I guess, just for gas expenses and hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, gloves, masks, all those kind of things for the volunteers to use during the deliveries. It says what we're hoping to do is to take that money. If there is excess at the end of all of this, we will donate to a local food bank pantry or a non-profit charity in our region committed to helping the underserved. He just really wants to get this word out. He just was scared being 17 and starting this whole thing, but he just wanted to get the word out and help who he can. He says, one thing I love about Cincinnati is that people are always willing to come together and to help and support each other. So there you have another successful story of someone going above and beyond to help others during all of this chaos. Well, that is all of the stories that I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. I had such an amazing time sharing these positive stories with you. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button to like and follow us on social media and leave a 5-star review. It's greatly appreciated, and I look forward to next time. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay indoors, take care of yourself, and we will keep sharing more positive stories next time. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network, from social media news to marketing news and even weird news. The GSMC Podcast Network has you covered. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast.